Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin.
I'm Penelope.
I'm Justin.
And we're here to talk about toys.
We're back.
Farpoint's back.
I feel like we never left.
We are here often, but I mean, you know,
I love it.
You have a really a well put together cast of characters.
Yeah,
Nice little rotating guest
yep.
spots.
Yes.
Yep. Keeps it dynamic, keeps it interesting.
I've been enjoying seeing other people's perspectives, other personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, if it was just us all the time, or if it was just Tony all the time, it would get like not bland, but like you don't have a specific shtick,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's like okay,
I like
let's
the
talk to these
tone
people.
changes
Me
between
too.
guests.
Absolutely.
It's great.
There are more serious conversations. There's more funny conversations. There's like toy-based episodes. There's like topic.
Sure.
You know, we had a toy vending episode.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wasn't specifically about toys, but
Well, there's so much. I'm glad
cool.
you're not just a review.
Right.
You know, you don't just plop the thing
No.
down and review it.
Yeah.
This is like about collecting in general.
And it's always a great conversation.
Well, that's the most important part
Yeah,
about this. I
it
think
is.
That's why we come back.
Of course.
I wouldn't come back. If we were just like sitting talking about minutia of.
Well,
although we do talk about minutia.
yeah, we do get
But we get
into
to
the
get
weeds.
into conversations, and I mean, we've gone on tangents about like bikers, and I've sang Phil Collins.
have.
And
There's been a lot.
It's a lot like our loose.
Yeah, well, we bring that
That's
that
the
chaotic
style you bring.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chaotic
the chaotic
energy.
energy of
Farpoint
Farpoint.
tangent.
Oh my
Yes.
God! We
TM.
apologize in advance.
I don't apologize. It's why he brings us back, because we're just random.
well, welcome to the Pegwarmers episode of Cobra Convergence 6.
Yeah, tell us about this, Kev.
Cobra Convergence is a themed month for July every year where a whole bunch of G.I. Joe or toy-related people that do some level of G.I. Joe content kind of team up to cross-promote and talk about other channels that do toy-related things. And you
Okay.
don't even have to just be a YouTuber. It can be an Instagram account. It can be a
awesome.
traditional podcast. So actually yesterday, Timmer from Half the Battle on YouTube, his episode came out. And then tomorrow we're going to be looking at Plastic Battles, which is a toy photography group on
cool.
Awesome.
Instagram.
I've seen some amazing toy
Yes.
photography out there. It just gets better
So
every
great.
year.
Yeah.
So definitely check those out. It actually started as just sort of a collaboration between a couple of YouTubers. Hooded Cobra Commander 788, Form BX 257, and Timmer from Half the Battles.
Man, that's so much to remember.
Yeah, so those guys, they're some of the early G.I. Joe reviewers.
Right.
Form BX 257 is like the first.
I know Cobra
Joe
Commander watches
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pegwarmers.
he's often
Yeah.
in the
because
premieres with us.
he's often in the
Premieres with us.
in the premieres
Yeah.
talking. So
Yeah.
shout out to HCC.
So those three guys kind of did a team up.
Okay.
They did it a couple years in a row, and then they expanded it. And there was actually a couple years where there was like a storyline. There was a year where Timmer went crazy and he used the Infinity Gauntlet to steal half everyone's collections, and we had to team up like the Avengers to beat him. And everyone's shooting their part in their like basement or toy room.
Oh, that's fun.
And like sending it in, like
Yeah.
it was all scripted out. It was hilarious.
Wait,
awesome.
Kevin.
What?
Does that mean for the first time in however many episodes Farpoint has been on that we're going to talk about G.I. Joe?
Without just shoehorning it in.
Yeah, it's been
Without
mentioned.
accidentally
It's been
or
mentioned.
using it as a reference point.
I got one episode where I said, no, Willow is all mine. No G.I. Joe talk.
We finally,
You are allowed to specifically talk about
Specifically.
G.I.
we're
Joe.
going to give
Yes.
the people what they've been asking
Yes.
for.
Yes.
Have they been asking?
There's been like two people.
Yeah. Hooded
Kevin-
Cobra
Kevin
Commander
and I.
and Kevin and you. Yes.
So the theme for Cobra Convergence this year is I always want to say it backwards. Let me just double check it. It's crazy schemes and weird figures. I always want to
right.
say wacky schemes and
Yeah.
weird figures because
Schemes, as in from the
like the Cobra plots,
from
Oh,
the
boy.
cartoon.
the cartoon or the comic, anything.
Yeah.
Oh.
It depends.
There's
So because every
lot.
one of these creators has their own niche, whatever they like about
Right.
G.I. Joe. So there may be a comic book channel.
Oh, who
That's
wants
going to talk about comic book
comics?
schemes. There
That's
may be somebody
awesome.
that's going to talk about something more specific to the cartoon.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about Sunbow cartoons.
Okay.
We're going to talk about weird figures.
All right.
And
yeah.
I would even throw out like death trap vehicles.
Okay.
Ooh.
Because Cobra, that's part of the scheme, right? Is like, what
Oh my
kind of
God.
arsenal do they have?
The Fang is a scary gyrocopter.
There's a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot. Trouble Bubble.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I had Trouble Bubble on my list as a death trap.
Well, it's very tiny and scary and claustrophobic.
I'm not sure what you do once the engine shuts off if something goes wrong.
You better have a parachute on.
Yeah. Does it have a parachute attached?
No.
It should.
The figure should.
Somebody should.
Anyway.
So the opening part is the crazy schemes. And I think crazy schemes were showcased the best in the cartoon show. I think the comic book took Cobra a little bit more seriously. So even though there were some crazy schemes,
there has to be.
It was more over the top in the cartoon because the cartoon was aimed younger.
The cartoon and the cartoon's way more. Because it was aimed younger,
it's kid friendly.
It's way more. I don't know the word. Help me out here.
Kid friendly.
Juvenile.
Juvenile.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think it also was a big,
simpler.
Yeah. I think a big factor of that too is there were so many more writers. So you had different styles. There were more serious episodes and more really zany episodes depending on who was writing them and things like that.
Well, I brought a list of zany.
Yeah, we there's a lot.
Shoot, going back and rewatching some of them. It was a rough watch.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love the old cartoons, but there are definitely strong episodes and weak episodes.
Just because, listen, I have much love and much nostalgia, that doesn't mean I have to pretend that they're good.
That's true. That's true.
There is that, yes.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, let's do some crazy schemes.
All right.
Before we dig into your list, I want to mention the first two miniseries of the G.I. Joe cartoon, right?
Best thing ever.
You have, they are. They're so good. And they definitely had a formula because it was a big device that gets broken into pieces.
Totally.
We got to rescue them.
Yeah.
Both of those are pretty crazy schemes, but they're ones that are like actually a decent idea.
Yeah.
Like if we can teleport anything anywhere in the world, that's a pretty scary threat.
Yeah,
So-
they work. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like the scheme works.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The scheme depends on, you have to suspend disbelief about the science.
Right, of course.
So if you can get past the made up science, which you need in a show like this,
Yeah.
it can't be all reality because
Right.
G.I. Joe and Cobra is not real.
Right.
If the science is right, then the scheme to get the science is typically a decent scheme. It's when things get really like the schemes are like so out there. Sometimes the science is right, but the scheme is just like, what was the thought in this?
Yeah, or was there thought?
Is this a typical episode? Is there?
Oh, we want to jump back and do new to the collection first?
Do you want to? You want to wait?
Yeah, let's do it.
No, I don't want to put a break on things.
I just wanted to kind of throw out a little
Let's
bit
jump
of G.I.
right
Joe
into G.I. Joe here.
All right, we're just going straight to G.I. Joe.
Yep.
We'll do new to the collection towards the
Sure.
end.
As long as you remember, you're the engineer here.
Okay. I do sometimes break a little bit from typical format on an episode like this because I know
You want to jump
we're
right in.
hopefully getting an
Yeah.
audience that isn't necessarily
Perfect.
familiar with what we
Yep.
do.
Sorry. Let's
you
jump
just
right
want
in.
to talk about your toy.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
So a typical episode will have news, new to the collection, and then our main
Yes.
topic. We're kind of jumping into the main
Yeah.
topic.
We're regulars
we
here.
wanna
This is
give
the
you
first
the
time we've
meat
ever jumped right in.
first.
Yes, okay.
So you
Yeah.
threw me off
True.
there.
I'm shaking things
I
up
was
here.
just
That's
letting
all
him
right.
go.
Shake and
It's his
bake,
show.
So after we can teleport the Eiffel Tower anywhere we want, and after
Yep.
we can control the weather anywhere we want, which is scary. You send tornadoes or tsunamis at a country.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's
Like
So
that-
again,
freakish.
That's a real powerful scheme.
it's and the science is made up science, but it worked in like in a kid's in a kid's imagination. Those schemes worked well, and the episodes, because they were like 5-part overarching episodes, they could flesh it out a little more.
Yes.
The typical ones that are pretty bad are just one shot. Let's throw this out there. They have to have a beginning and
Cliffhanger,
Conflicts.
commercial break.
right.
Yeah.
Each commercial break has to have a cliffhanger. Just get a little more conflict for each commercial, and then a resolve at the end.
Right.
And it's a kids' cartoon with guys having fun doing voice acting, and boy, does it get pretty hinky sometimes. Just comes to mind first. It comes to mind is Cobra Commander using a laser to make a image of himself on the moon.
Are we over? Are we just doing like a?
We're just jumping right in, right?
All right.
That's Quick Kick's like first episode. He's the star
Quick
of the
kick
show.
centric episode.
Yes. I mean the episode where they meet Egyptian gods.
Well, no, let's just talk about the Quick Kick one first.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So the name of the episode escapes me.
My question on that one is, What was the end game for that?
Lasers in the night.
Yeah, lasers in the night.
Episode.
So if I can put my face on the moon, how do I profit or gain power from that?
Notoriety, getting your name out
fame.
there.
I think the narcissism of Cobra Commander thought
Yes.
like, okay, this is how powerful I am.
Okay.
I'm going to put an image of myself on the moon, and the world will see me every night.
Yeah.
I am powerful because the moon doesn't spin.
Right.
That's why there's a dark side.
Yeah.
And that's his thinking. And Destro actually calls him out on it.
I was going to say, even Destro is like, what? You spent millions of dollars and you're just going to put your face on it?
Yeah, because usually the scheme is to get money or to get power.
Right.
Right? Those are the two things.
So they had
Yes.
this intensely powerful laser, right?
That they spend a bunch of money on,
A
probably.
ton of money, yeah.
That they could have used to, like, we're threatening to blow up Cairo or New
Yeah,
York City.
anything.
Give us money, which is the typical Cobra plot.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote this was like, no, Cobra Commander's going to... And Cobra Commander holds it tight to his chest the entire
Yeah,
episode.
the entire episode.
He's like, no, I'll show you later what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Sorry for the Skeletor in Cobra
No, that was
Commander.
actually
Chris
really
Latta's
good.
really hard.
That was actually really good.
And then the reveal is...
Yeah.
And he does a really good... It's a really good artistic rendering.
good
artistic
He might be
rendering.
like Hitler, where he was an artist before he was a tyrant. Because he's...
Yeah, what cracks me up the most is that he's just a guy in a mask or a hood.
Right.
And yet he wanted his face on the moon. It's not even a face, it's just his
helmet.
mask or his helmet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It could be
is.
anybody on there. It
It
could have been
could.
Fred.
How
We're getting deep,
narcissistic?
G.I.
How
Joe. This is a
narcissistic
for
can he
G.I. Joe
be?
fans, right?
Yes.
How narcissistic can he be if he's never showing his face?
You had issue at the beginning of this episode where Quick met a girl.
Yeah, I had a lot of issue with this. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with woke culture or whatever, but like he's very inappropriate with like the girl. Like, hey, gorgeous. Hey, what are you doing, babe? And it's just he's a little
He
creepy.
literally calls her gorgeous.
Like 100 times.
Like 5 times. And he's like, you're perfect for me. He's coming on really strong.
really strong
Well-
in a creepy way. And she's a college and
Falcon
he's-
in the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty nice legs for a grease monkey.
Yeah.
Soldier.
There's a lot
They were
of that.
really aiming at us young
we
men.
watched a bunch of episodes to prep for this, and there's a lot of creepiness going on with that.
Now, her name was Amber, and they
Okay.
confused her. They thought she was a traitor, when really it was the Baroness undercover as Lady
J, yeah.
Okay.
Does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
Quick Hick's like running around. He has a long romance with. There's a whole montage
Yeah.
of him romancing this
Yeah,
girl.
she's a college student, and he meets her at like a college exposition of his like
Martial arts.
He's
Yeah.
abilities.
shirtless,
Yeah.
because he always is, no shoes, and he's like beating up guys in the gym.
Yeah.
And then her friend is like
Her friend is
what's the
supposed
word
to
for
be
her where I don't
like
wanna
a nebbish. She's like a
No.
nebbishy woman.
yeah, but she's like a hound. Is that something I can say?
Probably not. I'm gonna go.
She's
with
like,
that's
where are
probably
the
not.
men?
Yeah.
She's like, I want to go where the guys are at. I'm gonna go get a date.
She actually asked Quick if he has. Do
you have a brother with shoulders
He's like,
like
no, I have a
yours?"
sister.
It's a little.
So Amber, they date,
Bruce is
and they
gonna
have
have to
this whole
bleep
montage, right? She's like man hungry. The friend is like man hungry.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
like man crazed.
Yeah.
So there's
But
a
Amber
montage.
she's like desperate to be part of G.I. Joe.
G.I.
loves
Joe's
it.
how I learned how women think.
Oh,
So-
that explains a lot.
So Amber wants to join the G.I. Joe team.
Yeah.
And he's like showing her around the pit.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe
Yeah.
headquarters is not a pit in the show.
Right.
They go to the opera. They go to the beach.
He's asleep at the opera. She's asleep at a football game.
Yeah,
Right.
baseball game or something.
So she's like stumbling into the rooms where they're like talking about the codes. And is this the one where they shrink? The Cobra shrinks?
No, that's Cobra Claws.
That's Cobra
comes
Claws.
All right, because they break into the
That's on our
headquarters
list
there.
too.
Okay.
That's right. They break into the headquarters there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
That's a very common,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
think,
a trope.
even cartoon trope.
Yeah,
like,
it's a trope.
The good guy gets in the bad guy base, the bad guy gets in the good guy base, you know.
Yeah.
She wants to join G.I. Joe. Amber wants to join G.I.
Like
Joe.
horribly. It's like her
So
dream.
fast forward towards the end of the episode, to prove herself that she's not a spy, she breaks into the Terradrome, right? She goes there, and
She's in this cool ninja outfit.
yeah, and she's like trying to thwart the laser.
Yeah.
And they don't know it's just an artistic laser at this point.
Artistic
They catch
laser.
her, but at the end, she goes back and everybody's apologizing to her, thinking, I think Hawk is now the
Yeah,
main guy.
because they had been accusing her
Yeah.
of being
It's
a
like the
spy the
86.
entire time.
No, it might not be because Serpentor's not in this. Anyway,
It's either Hawk or Flint.
they're like, sure, you can join a G.I. Joe team. And I'm like, she
What?
has no military
Yeah.
background.
She's not
like
even a-
straight out of college.
she's like 19.
That actually happens a lot in the cartoon, though. Like,
makes
now,
no
granted,
sense.
Shipwreck has military background in the cartoon, but they
find him
just
in the
meet
desert.
him in a bar, a Cobra bar, basically, and then they're like, "Yeah, he's a good guy."
But I bought it. He is an ex-military.
Yeah, he's a seasoned veteran.
Yeah.
There was no background check again, and there's these funny things like that a lot in the show.
In headcanon to me, he helped out that episode, and then they did the whole background check.
Maybe.
I love your headcanon. Yeah, she's not even a college graduate.
I think some of that is just like the writers maybe going like, the kids
don't
want to
care.
join G.I. Joe.
Yes.
The kids all want to be part of G.I. Joe. So let's show them
Yeah.
how, look, this normal person was a
could be a G.I.
hero and they
Joe
joined
too.
G.I. Joe, you know?
I like that idea.
I also liked it, and this is one of the episodes. There's a couple episodes that showcase this. The Joes are kind of famous in town.
Yes.
Like when they go out places,
People
They
are
get
like,
noticed.
and especially when they're like almost always in their Joe uniforms.
Yeah.
Only once in a while are
Which
they
is
in like
sometimes-
vacation.
Yeah,
Right.
like in Quick Kick's case, his uniform is just a pair of pants and a headband.
Yeah.
He's not even
Right.
wearing shoes.
He's great in Arctic missions.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So yeah, they're like famous rock stars almost. Where people are like,
Right.
oh my god, it's the G.I. Joes.
Yeah, he's at the college doing a GI Joe martial arts
Yeah.
Right.
exhibit.
So that episode, there's no point to
No, it's
Cobra's
terrible.
scheme.
No,
I
it's a
have
bad scheme.
very vivid memories of that episode as a kid. Like, I remember watching it. I remember not understanding the movie references in it, and then years later, like in high school, when I get the Kid Rhino DVDs or whatever came out, I was watching it again. I'm like, oh, I understand all this stuff now.
Yeah, because
you know?
Quick Kick is constantly quoting these old movies.
Yes.
Oh, that's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's bad.
But you can
bad.
tell like the generations of it. So it's for little kids. It's somebody in their 40s writing it about movies they saw when they
it's
were
not
a kid.
movies I recognize.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Not at all.
And not at all.
I mean, I understand like some of it. I think he does
There's
like
a
a Dirty
wonderful.
Harry.
There's a Wonderful Life reference.
It's a Wonderful
Yes,
Life, which is still an
Wonderful Life.
old movie.
Yeah. Yes.
It is certainly, if they wrote it now, it wouldn't be those.
No.
No.
It's an old person writing
Yes, for a
Yeah.
kid show.
for a kid's
Yeah,
show.
absolutely.
I like the way Quick Kick's drawn. He's jacked.
Yeah.
Like they really do a good job. Let's pat Sumbo in the back of making the other than when they forget to color in pants,
Right.
Which they've done with Dr.
Which
Mindbender, and he
we'll
looks like
talk
he's
about.
wearing
Oh my
like,
God.
oh my god.
And
What
that's the
episode was
animation
that?
studio that's
Yes.
screwing
That's
that
actually
up.
on my
But
list.
the characters themselves look like the toys. They do
Yeah.
a really good job of nailing that.
So comic book artist Russ Heath, I think, did a majority of the model sheets for that show.
Cool.
So they would send him the picture of the figure, and he would simplify it a little bit to make the
Yeah.
characters. But he did a really nice job. There's actually like a field manual that's like black and white, almost looks like a coloring book, but it's the model sheets of what each one of the Joes would look like. It's
cool.
Oh, cool.
That's been published. It's cool.
Almost like Order of Battle.
Yeah.
Simplified. You know, those
neat.
comic book versions. Do you have an episode?
Do I have an episode? I was
I'm
thinking.
interested to see if any of our episodes overlap.
Oh,
they
well,
must.
I'm sure some of them do. I was thinking about you mentioned when they team up with Egyptian gods.
Oh.
like that is bizarre.
Gods Below.
The Gods Below.
That
It
one,
makes
and
no
then
sense.
they also go to like ancient Greece at one point.
Do they really?
There's one where Jason and the Argonauts they confuse Sergeant Slaughter with Hercules in that episode. That's pretty
Makes no
bizarre.
sense. In Gods Below, the scheme is just that Cobra wants the treasure. So that's a pretty decent
That's a
scheme.
scheme.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to kidnap the scientist and get the treasure. That's
They kidnap
a
the
decent
sign. No, it
scheme.
gets a little deeper. It's convoluted.
Yeah.
And
But the overarching scheme, they want money. Okay.
cuckoo.
Well, yeah.
They kidnap the archaeologist or scientist
Yes.
guy, right, who found the tomb.
So his name is Dr. Marsh, but at one point, Cobra Commander refers to him as Dr. Bosch. And it's not like he's calling
His
him
name
a
might
name.
be Bosch Marsh.
It's
Marsh
just,
Bosch.
It's obviously a continuity error.
They
Somebody
may have switched the name partway through
Yeah.
editing and didn't fix it.
So so they kidnap this guy, and he's like, "Well, the Egyptian military is going to come find me." So then you see a convoy of like this generic military. It's not
Yeah.
GI Joe.
Yeah.
And Cobra attacks them and takes their vehicles. In the meantime, blowing up, like a third of the convoy.
Okay.
And nobody dies. It's GI Joe. The generic military guys escape the vehicles that blew up. So Cobra Commander doesn't take a vehicle. He rides a camel the entire time.
I mean,
with
of course.
with the doctor with him, I think.
Is
So
that
they
Dr.
get to
Bosch or Dr.
they get to
Marsh?
the crypt, and Cobra somehow knows this. The Joes sneak out. The Joes had hidden themselves on this convoy of vehicles, knowing that Cobra was going to be involved in this thing.
Okay.
So when Cobra parks the vehicles, the Joes sneak out from underneath the vehicles.
They're hidden in like compartments, like under.
Mm-hmm.
Where were the Joes that were hidden underneath the vehicles that got blown up? Who died?
Yeah, we don't talk
Right?
about them. They're fine. They all escaped. They're good.
Or did they just happen to only hide in the vehicles?
Only in some
Yeah.
vehicles.
That's fine.
So that, I was like right there, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
man, as a kid, maybe I didn't catch that.
There's a lot of those, like, they're too lucky for this to be real things. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
So Cobra knew that Joe was going to be doing that
okay.
because Cobra wanted Joe to go into the tomb and find the treasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Because any booby traps.
How convoluted is that?
It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense at
It's
all.
like a double cross.
It's like
Yeah.
a triple.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Cobra knew that the convoy was going to come,
Yeah.
that they were generic, but they knew that G.I. Joe was going to be
Would be
hidden on the
with them too.
convoy.
Yeah.
So they blew the convoy. G.I. Joe knew that Cobra was going to be blowing the convoy up. Like, it's so
It's a lot.
convoluted.
Yeah.
And then it only gets worse because they meet actual Egyptian gods.
So one thing happens in this episode that I actually really like. Lady J can read hieroglyphics. I don't know. Is that something from her history that I'm unaware of?
She might be a
Why?
We'd have to pull her
linguistic
file
expert or
card out.
something.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that, but it's like a clutch moment. She reads something that they have to know, I believe.
Yeah.
So like, it's pretty convenient that she happened to know.
They go so deep into the crypt and then into like whatever Egyptian god world that they're like
It's the
away from
underworld.
the earth.
Yeah.
And they have to save each other to make sure their hearts weigh. It's like if you've watched Moon Knight,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
This would work to
yeah.
me in an Inhumanoids episode or something that's not
Right.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something a little more
Mummies alive.
totally.
I think that's where one of the things, though, like I was saying, with the wide range of writers, you get these people that they've written shows, these wackier shows.
Yeah.
They get the G.I. Joe series Bible that says this is what the characters do, and they just take a story they would have used on another series.
Yeah.
There's literally an episode of G.I. Joe and Transformers that is the same plot. A guy,
I'm sure.
One guy
yeah.
wrote them. It's exactly the same
Yeah.
episode.
It's just different characters. The characters.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter because it's still good and
So-
you're watching it and it's fine.
As a G.I. Joe nerd boy, total, there's a scene where the Joes are in the crypt and Cobra Commander sends Crimson Guards after them, and the Joes steal the Crimson Guards' uniforms, and you see a shot of the Crimson Guards all sitting in
In their underwear.
in
Yeah.
their underwear, and none of them look like Fred.
No, they're all.
They all
but-
have dark mustaches
yeah,
and dark, hair.
But they do all look alike.
They do look alike.
Yeah, they're all
So
dark
I
hair
think that
with
was
mustaches.
just the artist being easy because
Being
it's a quick
fast.
shot.
Yeah.
And then the Joes like seal them in a tomb.
Yeah,
which
that's a little.
I,
all right.
I think like
Are they all dead now?
no, listen. You always see people escape.
I didn't see them get out of there.
Always. So yeah,
They
even as a
left
kid,
note. Go back and get
yes,
your guys.
Yeah.
even as a kid, that episode, I got into GI Joe in '82. My dad was a Vietnam vet. I loved the military. You know, my dad would be like, "Oh, that's an M60."
Yeah.
You know, we bonded on that stuff, and GI Joe, the military stuff, really spoke to me. So, and I love the cartoon was great, especially the miniseries episodes. But once it started getting out there, even as a kid, I realized like, wow, that's too far out there for me. Like Egyptian gods is too far out there for me.
As a kid, I loved Egypt. I was like obsessed with mythology, but it doesn't make any sense with GI Joes. Like
Right.
they're in the real world doing real world stuff, and now all of a sudden they're in they fell into the underworld, and now
I even
Osiris
buy
is there.
Arise, Serpentor, Arise. I love it. I love that there's science behind
science.
Yeah.
DNA.
It's ridiculous science, but it still exists.
But it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no science here. They just fall into the underworld.
That comes down to like the editor. I mean, all these writers are submitting like a plot outline or whatever. Somebody should have just been like, nah.
And this isn't for our show.
Yeah.
But listen, how many episodes are in that? You know,
Right,
there's
it's a lot of
it's only
episodes.
2 seasons.
But it's
right?
a lot of episodes.
But it's a lot of episodes.
Yeah. So that was a weird one. The whole Egyptian thing didn't make much sense.
I got Cobra Claws.
I got Joe's Night Out.
All right, let's do Joe's Night Out.
So Joe's Night Out.
My first note for Joe's Night Out says, just absolutely terrible. That's my first note.
My first note is OMG misogyny exclamation point.
This is the episode where they go to the nightclub, right?
Yes.
And the nightclub gets launched into space.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the whole point of this episode,
Serpentor says this I command 17 times.
well, he always does. Serpentor has created a nightclub
Mm-hmm.
so that he can launch it into space and hold everyone in the nightclub hostage. The entire purpose of the nightclub is specifically for this.
Right.
Why does he want to hold him hostage? For money.
For money. Money? I don't even, honestly, I don't
So
remember.
he builds a rocket
Oh, he wants the
nightclub.
he wants the technology of the nitrogen fueled engines.
Okay.
So there's a doctor. He sends it into space, so the doctor comes over and works.
Oh, yet
it's another scientist
episode.
I
Yeah.
think G.I. Joe made me think I would meet more scientists in real life than I do.
You taught me a lot. You taught me a lot.
So the main premise of this is that there's this new nightclub in town, and who are the three Joes? Remind me, Leatherneck.
Dial tone, leatherneck, and wetsuit.
Yeah. So they, one of them has a girlfriend.
Dial tone.
And invites two of her friends along with Leatherneck and
Wetsuit. I think Wetsuit's like, yeah, see if they have friends.
Yeah.
Like he's all like a
or
horny
maybe
Navy
it's Leatherneck,
guy.
I'm not sure.
No, Leatherneck is kind of quiet.
He's kind of
But
quiet.
Leatherneck ends up with what is like
Yes.
portrayed as the ugly girl.
Yeah, let me talk about this for a second.
He's the wingman.
Yeah, so there's three girls. The girlfriend who's cute. The second girl who's still cute, and then the third girl who's like got a space between her teeth and is like frumpy with her frumpy hair and her and she's very frumpy,
And
but
Leatherneck
she's
is just an asshole.
but she's so into Leatherneck, and he's just like, why me? Kill me? What's wrong with me? Why did I get this one?
Totally. He's just
And
grumpy.
it's so terrible.
Treating her like hell the entire
It's
time.
terrible. It's really.
They go into space and like
It's
they
supposed to be funny, but it's bad.
It's it's just aimed at little boys.
Yeah.
And we think I guess they thought that's what we're supposed to think is
It's about as
it's
understandable as relationships are to little kids, I guess.
I
you know?
guess.
this I command I have a lot.
Yeah. So at one point they have to do a spacewalk so this nightclub gets blasted all the way into space, and they have to do a spacewalk to defuse a bomb. I think, right?
Yeah, multiple bombs.
Yeah. And Wetsuit just like straps garbage bags around his body, I think.
And like a fishbowl in his
And
mouth.
they
just
literally
makes
take
a
a
suit,
fishbowl.
yeah.
There's a fishbowl in the club, and the fish fall out. There's zero gravity. There's just water and fish floating. And he takes the fishbowl, puts it on his head, and like duct tapes it around his neck.
Now, one thing I do love, and they do touch
So
on this in it, is the relationship between Wetsuit and Leatherneck, which is Navy Marines.
And that relationship was a great dynamic in all those episodes.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
The ball busting.
Yep.
About how
And it's a constant thing because you can easily have that kind of relationship that's supposed to be in every episode, and then you get one writer that just doesn't use it.
Yep.
Every time they got used, it was
If they were
consistent
together,
thing.
yep.
Alpine and Bazooka were a great pair.
Yep.
And Wetsuit and Leatherneck were a great pair in the
I
show.
agree.
So the scheme was ridiculous. Like, why are you going to make a nightclub?
How
just
much
to
money
blast
do you
it
think
into
he was going to
space?
get?
I don't think
from
it was.
this?
I
Oh,
forget.
this
It wasn't
for
about
the
money. It was
hostage.
about. It was about
He was holding them hostage.
get-
engine that runs on nitrogen, so it was
Okay.
unlimited fuel.
So
It just
he's
runs
gonna-
on nitrogen in the air.
Okay.
But the engine didn't work out well. It wasn't finished. But Serpentor was like super impulsive.
Yes.
That's his thing.
Who does he get that from? Genghis Khan?
Yes, Genghis Khan.
There you go. So he doesn't wait to see if it works. He puts them in the fire bats. The fire bats end up blowing up.
Okay.
They fight the conquests. I love seeing this era because it's all the new toys introduced. You're starting to get fire bats and night ravens.
Yeah.
And,
Now, are the fire bats red or gray in this episode?
I think they're right.
grayish?
Yeah, they were miscolored gray in a lot of episodes.
Early episodes
Yep.
they were. Yeah.
So speaking of miscoloring, there's a scene with Dr. Mindbender and Serpentor, and it's just they're standing there talking about their scheme or whatever, and it pans over, and Dr. Mindbender is standing there in his outfit.
They didn't color his
but they
purple pants
colored
in.
his purple pants flesh tone by accident. So
Just
he's
the cod
standing
piece?
there in a
cod
metal
piece with,
cod
like-
piece with suspenders and the cape on, and it's the most surreal 2 seconds.
We
of
were sitting there watching. I was like,
television.
"Whoa!"
We had to
That's
rewind
the cell
it.
to own.
We had to,
Yes.
we had to rewind and pause it for a minute because it was so shocking. It's just, how do you mess up that badly?
So I like Serpentor. I like the toy. I like the
Bad.
design. Everything
Bad.
in the cartoon. Is it just me, or does he look like corn on the cob?
He looks like corn on the
does
cob.
kinda
It's
like
like this.
Right? It looks like corn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Just
does.
round.
I couldn't. Once I
corn.
realized it, I couldn't unsee it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that
It's
last
bad.
night. And I was like, "Oh, I have to mention
Yeah,
the
it's
corn."
bad. That's bad. They're all bad.
Yeah, that's not a great episode.
no. The scheme doesn't really. It's not straightforward. It's very convoluted. It
There-
doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Have you guys seen Gray Hair and Growing Pains?
no.
It's an episode, and I probably will screw up some of the plot points here because I haven't watched it recently, but it's one I very
Okay.
visibly remember as a kid.
I have seen it.
Okay.
I just haven't.
Yeah,
Not recently.
Yeah,
right,
I'm
not
sure
recently.
it's been. Yeah.
But in it, there's like a woman that needs to to like be young. She's like a
I mean, don't we all?
like an old mom
Very
or whatever.
familiar.
And so, for some
Oh,
reason,
absolutely, I
Cobra's
know
working
this.
with her.
Yep.
I don't know if it's they want her technology or somehow she's got them working for her.
Yep.
And they're bringing in these young girls.
And she's fixated on being young.
Yes,
Yep.
and they put the people in a machine and they turn old and she gets younger.
Yep.
And the Joes sneak in and we end up getting like people shrunk down, like Lady J and Mainframe or somebody get shrunk down and now their adult clothes are like baggy and falling off of them and they gotta fight Vipers.
He's my number one dad.
It's a TNG reference.
It's very much like Ant-Man 2, I think, where he gets like partially shrunk and he's wearing the
No, when you say shrunk, you mean youngified?
youngified, yes,
Okay.
not
So they're
actually
like
shrunk, but
pretty
Yeah,
bad.
he's my number one dad.
Yeah.
That
Let's go
episode
jump on
I
the
remember
bed.
being just super bizarre as a kid, and then it at the end, Lady J, because we were talking about how some of like the misogynist stuff. Lady J runs out of her sweatpants as a little girl, and at the end of the episode becomes full Lady J again, and she's like just barely covering
remember.
things with the sweatshirt. And it's
Yeah,
like, whoa.
there's a lot of scenes where like
That
it
was titillating
starts-
as a kid.
Oh my God,
It
yeah.
starts on the
Yeah.
lady's legs and like works up. It's very.
I gotta tell you, the Baroness is hot.
Well, yeah.
Smoking hot. There's an
Do you
episode
think that
where
affected
she's
you as a child?
yes.
Long
you think
dark
so?
hair, glasses. You
Something
think?
about it,
Yeah.
it affected me. Not that you look anything like the Baroness.
No, never.
In Gods Below, actually, the Baroness, the entire episode, and she doesn't use it or do anything with it. She has a bullwhip, and she's just
Oh,
kind of
at
like.
one point, she does like go like and
Yeah.
flick to the camera with
And
it.
she like the doctor, the professor they capture.
Dr. Boschmarsh.
She like rubs his face. Like she is such a
femme fatale is the
Yeah.
term.
Yes.
Yeah.
speaking of shrinking, but this isn't young shrinking. This
No,
is
it's actually
shrinking.
size
Shrinking.
shrinking.
Cobra Claws.
It's
Cobra
coming to
Claws.
town.
Christmas episode.
It
It's
is
a classic shot of Cobra Commander with the sign that says Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've seen a G.I. Joe, Google G.I. Joe Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
It's Cobra Commander with the sign that says Merry Christmas. They're at the headquarters. They're having a Christmas party. Mutt's bummed out because the holidays get him down.
Yeah, which is
Right.
Very
that's really
relatable.
cool.
They give Junkyard an entire turkey leg, which you shouldn't do with a dog because it will choke and die on bones.
bones, yeah.
But anyway, it's a
Now you
cartoon.
know.
Yeah, and
And
knowing.
knowing.
Half the battle.
The other half is lasers.
So it begins with I think Quick Kick and a couple others, maybe Cover Girl and somebody else in an All Striker,
Okay.
and they're hauling a load of toys,
Right.
right? And
the
then
kids?
yeah,
Yeah.
then Wild Weasel attacks them, and I'm like, that bastard! They can't even bring toys
Right?
somewhere.
It's messed up.
That's so evil.
It is.
But he attacks them so they stop because Firefly. They stop. Firefly sneaks out of a mountain with a door.
A mountain.
Like, I mean, there's always secret
they
doors
just-
in the mountains.
yeah.
Of course.
He puts like a rocking horse and some other bag of toys in the back of the thing where they don't see, and he disappears. Now they go back to Joe headquarters. They start enjoying a pre-Christmas dinner. I think it's Christmas Eve, and we flash to where all the toys are hidden, like not hidden, where they're stored for the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the next
pickup.
day the Joes are going to go out and give
the
out
orphanage
toys
or
and stuff,
whatever,
which is
yeah.
fantastic. Go
Love it.
Joes!
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, I love that. Toys for tots.
All of a sudden the rocking horse,
Starts like moving.
yeah, and Mutt and Junkyard are down
It's
there.
a Trojan horse.
It's a Trojan,
It's a
rocking
Trojan
horse. They
rocking
actually say
horse.
that.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mutt actually says it's a Trojan rocking horse.
I should have known that they said that.
Yeah,
It's been a while
they're
since
not
I've
going to leave a pun
No.
No.
unsaid.
Right.
Right. It's not a subtle show.
Now they're in there because they're tiny people, right?
Yeah, they're shrunk down.
Yeah.
Where did they get that technology? They never explain it.
Same
Did they
place
ever use it
get
again?
moon
Maybe.
lasers.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So out of the rocking horse and other toys come the Cobras.
Okay.
But they're 3 3/4.
yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, the
They're
rattlers
they're
they're flying
little guys.
around. This
Toy
episode,
Story.
I always love this because they're attacking Mutt. He's a grown person, but it's like their scale to the toys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
I love that.
That's really cool. How did they end up in the freezer?
No, that's not that one. Is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get to it. We're going to review the whole
Somebody
episode.
gets in a freezer.
Mutt manages to set the alarm before he passes out from smoke.
Okay.
Like they put some kind of smoke stuff. Now the Cobras are still tiny and they fly out of the headquarters onto the airfield, and they manage to disengage the sentry, the shield or whatever early warning unit. That lets Firefly climb onto the wall and shoot them with the ray gun to make them back to regular size.
Okay.
Because there's one gun that does, you can go small or you can go big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the same gun does both things.
Yeah, the
Right.
gun
Which is
actually
why
has like a
Polly
switch that says big and little.
ends up giant.
Yeah, which is
Oh
fantastic.
yeah.
You remember
Forgot
that,
about
right?
Yes.
There's a scene in the freezer. Somehow the Joes get locked in a freezer.
So
and
they
they're, like,
capture the
strung
Joes
up.
and they hang them all in the meat locker.
Yeah, and there's a line from Shipwreck. He looks over at a side of beef that's next to them and says, "Me and that side of beef could have a beautiful relationship."
And he wraps his legs around it.
Yeah, because he's trying to like use it to like
Did
help
swing
him get
himself.
out.
Listen, the guy they gave
But
Shipwreck,
that
the voice
line-
actor, and the
Neil
line,
Ross.
and the lines they give
the
Shipwreck,
line was a little weird.
he has a lot of personality.
Yes.
He does, but that line, "Me and that side of beef could have
He
a
had-
beautiful
listen,
relationship."
You could go down the
That's
list of
weird.
episodes, and there's a lot of
It's just a little weird.
Shipwreck.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
why?
Him doing Jack Nicholson as Shipwreck.
Yeah.
Weird lines.
I think he did mushrooms before they.
Polly is such
Polly's
a
the star.
self-aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's an episode somewhere in line, and as a kid, my friends and I would say it to each other all the time. There's an episode where like all of the technology gets like defeated by some Cobra weapon,
Thunder the Barbarian.
and the Shipwreck's like, "Well, how are we gonna stop him now?" And Polly goes, "With spitballs and paper airplanes, right?" You know?
It's not polying anything. It actually has ideas.
Yeah.
He almost curses in one of these episodes that we watched. It's something like it's a steaming pile. It's a steaming pile, he says, or
Oh, that's
something.
awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like Frank Welker.
I'm
or
sure
something.
It
he
must
did
have
like
been.
all the animals
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
show.
So that one was, I don't even, the entire point of it was they have this shrink ray. And at one point, Polly gets shrunken down very small. And then when they shoot him again, he ends up huge. And he's like pulling airplanes out of the sky.
He kind of saves the day at the
Yeah.
end.
There's a coloring book that I had as a kid for GI Joe. That's a shrink ray ish, like a shrink ray storyline, and in that, Cobra shrinks the pit and steals it.
Oh,
And
like
the
Ant-Man.
Joes,
That's
the Joes
neat.
go
Yeah.
back. Yeah, the
That's
Joes
awesome.
go to try and get it back, and some of the Joes get shrunk because they were in the pit or something like that, and they get out and they're trying to damage the laser so it can't be used on Leatherneck, who's been captured, and it ends up making him grow, and he like busts out of the Cobra
Giant
base.
Leatherneck.
And then they shrink him back, and Lady J wants to turn the pit back to its right size, and he's like, "No, we got to take it home first." And then they fly it back and shrink it back
Yeah,
to
in its original
grow it back to the
spot.
original size, right?
Otherwise, they would have been carrying.
Leatherneck at the end. Remember I said Leatherneck was bummed out by the holidays?
Yeah.
So at the end of the episode, after everything, he's like, this is great. I feel this is the best Christmas ever. And I'm like, so violence
Yeah.
really made your Christmas good, because that's what happened. It was a great episode. The battles in the episode were great because the Cobras end up stealing the whole plot. We're talking about hinky plots.
Yeah.
The whole shrinking thing, capturing the Joes, was so Cobra could steal the Joe vehicles and attack Delta City or whatever it was, whatever the city was
Okay.
near the Joe headquarters, in Joe vehicles, so the people would think it was G.I. Joe.
They couldn't just steal
Attacking.
the vehicles regular size. They had to shrink them.
Meanwhile, they leave the Cobra vehicles at the headquarters, so the Joes take the Cobra vehicles. So it's Joes attacking Cobras in Cobra vehicles and vice versa. And that's a fun part of it.
Yeah.
Seeing Cobra Commander fly a Sky Striker,
Very weird.
seeing like who was driving a Stinger, like Dusty or something.
Hey,
It was
kids, doesn't matter which toy you have. Just
no,
put
you
a
can
guy
have
in
them all.
the-
Everybody
Yeah.
can drive every vehicle. Buy more vehicles.
Yeah, that was the basic.
Consume,
idea.
consume.
It's kind of like that
Yeah.
that early Cobra or the early toy commercial where the Cobra Trooper is riding the Ram. He steals the Ram at the beginning
Yes.
of it. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could put
We're
any
gonna stop
figure.
Cobra.
Your imagination is the only thing that holds you back, kid.
What else? The Red Rockets Red Glare episode.
We're gonna hide a missile on the roof of every
So-
burger shop.
I love
in America.
Tomax and Zaymod.
It's convoluted.
They're my
For
favorite
sure.
thing about G.I. Joe in general. I love the Baroness, I love Destro, but I love Zaymod and Tomax. Extensive Enterprises is awesome.
What did you say yesterday about twin acrobats?
I mean, it's kind of like every woman's dream, right?
I don't know. I don't
Twin
know every
acrobat
woman.
guys. This is PG-13. But like what? Okay, so the plot of this episode is that they are going to make a restaurant franchise where there is an active rocket as like the little slogan guy up on the
Right.
top there.
Instead of the golden arches, it's an active
It's
rocket.
a red active red rocket. Now I'm not even going to talk about how weird red rocket's kind of an obscene phrase too, isn't it? It's like a
rocket's
yeah.
red glare. I mean,
It's-
that's no.
Yeah.
That's you're taking it that way.
South
but-
Park
Yeah.
made it a dirty thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I knew I wasn't crazy. So that's a little weird. But the whole point is that they're going to make this franchise of restaurants. They're then going to sell the franchises to apparently only like older married couples in all these different towns around the United States. And then they're going to buy back the restaurants from the couples. and then use the rockets, active rockets, to blow up the towns that the restaurants are near. Why did they have to do all of that?
Why do they have to sell them and buy them back?
Were they trying to like gain the trust of the townsfolk by giving it to these like elderly, like well-known couples or something?
Did they sell it to them at a high price and then buy it back because
maybe
the business has
because
failed?
they do say they use that might be it because maybe it's a profit thing on top of
there was
the
like
all right, that makes sense.
Roblox families.
We spend our life savings.
The Dreadnoks are like, or not the Dreadnoks, but a biker gang is like giving them trouble.
Meth bikers now, not the modern bikers.
Right, the meth bikers.
Meth bikers. They are very Dreadnok-ish, but they're not Dreadnok specifically. That might be it. It might be a profit thing. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Roadblock is always ready for violence.
Yes.
The aunt and uncle are like, these people keep coming and scaring away our potential clients.
Yeah.
And then these couple carloads of kids come in. And Roblox's like, these kids, I'm going to bust their asses.
So is that the episode where someone's like, I'm ready for action, and someone else is like, you mean violence?
No, I don't remember.
It might be that episode. Someone equated action
and
with violence.
his aunt and uncle are like, whoa, no, those are customers.
Yeah, it's that biker
easy,
gang.
Marvin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that biker gang coming in over the hill. He's like ready to like pounce on some like 15-year-olds.
See if I have notes of that episode.
Yeah, it's one of the episodes we watched to get ready for this was someone was like, I'm ready for action. And another G.I. Joe was like, you mean you're ready for violence? Like,
I have two notes on that episode. Racondo has a great mustache. They draw it very well.
I love that that's
like
what you look
coiffed
at.
and it's just so good.
I feel like you're trying to
And Roadblock chooses violence. No, they did away. I think they got further and further away from Roadblock rhyming all the time.
Yeah.
It was
He
constant.
only did it like twice in this
early.
episode. I was shocked. He only did it like twice.
It's probably one of those things too, like we were talking about. If you have writers that are very consistent, probably something a lot of the writers struggled with, and they just sort of didn't do it.
Go.
Like screw that, I'm throwing it out the window.
Yeah, it's just too hard to.
Kooky episode.
It was weird. Again, any excuse for Tomax and Zima to be in play. I love them.
And Cobra Commander's so dumb. Like he shows the map.
Yeah.
This is all my missiles
Yeah.
that are going
And then
aimed at
somebody's like,
cities.
hey, look,
And
it's the same place
it's
as
exactly.
Yeah.
And I still, even if it's profit, I still don't really understand the whole franchise thing. Just make the rockets and blast them off.
I think Extensive Enterprise is all about making profit.
That makes
There's
sense.
a cool. Is that the episode where Lady J breaks in without a warrant to Extensive Enterprises,
I believe so.
It might be.
and then like she doesn't get anything?
Does she need a warrant?
They chase her out. Well, it is the United States of America.
She's not a policeman, though.
Well,
She's still
they can't just do.
trespassing.
Yeah, I
it's
don't know.
property owned by a.
I don't know.
So I guess Joe's can just do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's nebulous.
So she jumps back out after she fights the Crimson Twins,
Right.
And is holding on to the skid of the Dragonfly,
Yeah.
and they both jump out and grab her legs.
Oh, yes.
And she lets out the most blood curdling scream.
She does as she falls.
God bless the voice actress.
Yeah.
I feel like they must have grabbed that scream from somewhere else because it doesn't fit.
It's
like,
echoey and
yeah, it doesn't sound like
they're like falling and laughing
they're deaf,
because they're
yeah.
acrobats.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like poles come out of the side of the Extensive Enterprises. They're
And
like
they're doing
flipping and
parkour. Yeah.
yeah, parkour exactly.
Yeah.
Then as Flint and Lady J are flying away from Extensive Enterprises, they happen to look in someone's window in an apartment
Yeah.
building and see Cobra Commander on
creepy.
TV.
Yeah, it's a little
I'm like,
creepy.
they're
Why
like
are they
looking in
peeking?
people's
It's weird.
the things you notice as an
I
adult
want to say for the record that Zema is cuter than Tomax.
because of the scar.
He's got that eye scar, which is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys can continue.
What else you got, Kev?
That's really we hit a lot of the ones that I had looked at. There's definitely a lot of wacky stuff. The thing that kind of will maybe lead us into some of these figures that you brought, the scheme that really seems to jump the shark and kind of ended the cartoon was we're gonna use spores in space to mutate every man, woman, and child on Earth. G.I. Joe the movie.
Okay, it's a little. All right.
It's not a money scheme. I guess it's a
Yeah.
power scheme because once people are mindless beasts, they can't rebel.
I
what's
think
the
they were just
point?
trying to show like Cobra's evil,
Yeah.
we're evil.
Yeah.
Like it went from being a terrorist organization bent on money and world domination. I think they
domination.
focused more on world domination
Yeah.
than money. Right? And there's a couple other schemes that are like that that were just
But what, like, if everyone's mindless mutants, like, what are you ruling?
well, there's a couple episodes where like they're trying to like do away with
oh, they destroy money.
they
in an
destroy money.
episode?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of that if you're not going to have a money system, like
he destroyed money so that he could be in control of it.
I forget what episode that is.
And me too. But all the coins have his likeness.
Yeah.
Because he's so vain. He wants his face on
for a
them.
lot of people, Joe the movie was where Joe jumped the shark.
Yeah.
Probably me included.
What year was that?
87. Yeah, because Transformers was 86.
Yeah.
No, I still love Joe though. But I didn't. Obviously, I don't think I watched much of the cartoon after.
Well, that was the end.
Oh, that was the end, wasn't
then
it?
a couple years,
Deke was after.
A little bit later, they
Yeah.
brought the Deke series out. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Cobra Commander was gone.
Yep.
They brought him back in Deke.
Deke.
They
unsnaked him.
unsnaked
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I never watched any of the Deke.
I was once a man.
So I don't know where this came from. Like to harken back to, I like G.I. Joe military. It started getting further and further away, further away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I like Inhumanoids. I like, bug animals and insect creatures and stuff. But that's where Joe went.
Yeah.
And it was against the desires of the people making the G.I. Joe figures. It was
So against Ron Rudat's.
It was marketing that
So was
said,
it all Kirk?
No, it's above his.
Oh,
pay
even
grade, too.
above Kirk.
It's the marketing people that did the commercials and the all that promotional stuff.
Yeah.
Griffin Bacall Studios. They said we can't sell a war movie to kids, so they made it a sci-fi.
Do you know how much we would have loved the war movie?
We would have loved it.
I mean, the mass device.
Yes, all it needed to be was the mass device, the Weather Dominator.
Yep. Do it again. I wouldn't have cared if they rehashed
And
the
if you
same
needed
idea.
to be sort of sci-fi, make it be like Arise
went
Serpentor
full
Arise.
sci-fi.
Yeah,
They
there
went
was
even
some
further.
science.
Arise Serpentor Arise was based in science.
Yeah.
I learned that deoxyribonucleic acid is DNA.
Yeah.
I didn't know that before I
And
watched
there's
that.
a lot of episodes that are based on science. The germ episode, even though it's wildly inaccurate, it's still based on some
Yeah, I
kind
learned
of,
that apples have poison.
Yeah,
Do
there's
you remember
arsenic.
that big blob thing that was eating
Oh,
up the
yeah, yeah.
countryside and they
Yeah.
had to put it in apple orchards?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
That's another ridiculous episode.
It is, but it's based vaguely on some kind of science.
There's some cool stuff in that episode, though. It starts out, it shows Cobra infighting because there's a Crimson Guard trying to steal like these two serums from a different Cobra base to bring it back. Like it's Cobra against Cobra, and then the Cobras are fighting him and shooting him down, and they accidentally, the two serum things mix together and form this thing. And then there's two Cobra troopers trying to escape it, and they get onto a water moccasin that won't start. So they put on eel outfits.
Okay.
They're like, put these on, and they dress as eels. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool seeing Cobra troopers putting on eel costumes. But the germ itself, I learned that apples have poison.
Yeah,
So
I think there's
the
arsenic
Joes
in
actually they're shooting apples out of their cannons.
because apples can just conveniently fit instead of a mortar inside of a tank.
And then you learn that Airtight in that episode is kind of like holds himself above other people.
Yeah.
He's like too smart. But yeah, the G.I. Joe movie, it sucks that Sunbow ended on that note.
Yes.
When it started on the mass device note.
The quality was so good for that show. I mean, there are definitely animation mistakes, but Sunbow did do overall nice animation, and the quality in the movie is way better. In fact, I oftentimes, when I watch the cartoon episodes, am surprised at the animation quality.
That they let go get past QC.
Because, well, part of it was that I have watched the movie so many times. That was the only thing I had on VHS once G.I. Joe was off the air. I would rewatch the movie over and over. And so when I would imagine the stories I remember as a kid, like watching Ninja Holiday or one of the other episodes, in my mind, the animation quality was as good as the movie. And then when you go back and you watch it, it's like, oh, it's not.
Especially
it's not nearly as good.
especially the intro to the movie.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That's classic.
That's probably the most iconic Joe scene.
Yeah.
That whole Liberty Island.
Can you imagine if there were 3 or 4 battles like that in the movie instead of them fighting like ridiculous stuff?
I don't know why they went that way.
So good.
This year's the
they
40th
were trying
anniversary.
to get away
I know.
from war.
Of G.I. Joe.
I get it.
And the movie, it's not the 40th anniversary of the movie.
It's the 40th anniversary of the first
of the line.
cartoon. And
yeah,
the line,
and the kind of cartoon. I mean, and the comic book.
Right.
But the movie's going to be in Regal.
Yep. They're doing the Phantom event.
Next
Are you
week?
going?
I'm planning to.
You
Yeah.
want to go?
I can't make solid plans for it because I'm actually having like closing on my house. Like,
All right, fair
I have a
enough.
bunch of stuff going on, but I
We're
will definitely see
definitely
it.
going.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure which theater because I actually have a couple different group of friends that are trying to see it, and I'm like, where do I drive? do I watch it local or do I go someplace to meet up with
Gotcha.
people?
So I want to see it in a theater again. And I do have a nostalgia and enjoy aspects of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Cobra La. I mean, it was so lazy as even Cobra La was a placeholder name.
Right.
And they were just like, well, let's just leave that.
Somebody fell in love with it.
La 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 la
and
la.
they're like, yeah.
Cobra la 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 la.
Yeah, so not a great figure.
So I thought that the animation versions were far superior than the toys. Like I thought that Nemesis Enforcer is imposing.
Awesome as animation. He's bigger than
Huge.
than Sergeant Slaughter.
Huge.
Yeah.
The unstoppableness of the Royal Guards. Also, they were looked cool with the capes.
They
Did not
did.
get the cape.
If you have to choose out of the 3 toys, the Royal Guard is the coolest of the
The Royal
figures.
Guard is
Yeah.
the best toy. Yes.
Galabius you can't do anything with. It's not his appendage. Isn't even like it's not made of the bendy stuff like Gumby.
It's not bendable enough.
No.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be bendy, right? But it's just not bendy
it's not
enough
bendy
to do
enough.
anything with.
There's nothing you could do with it.
He just sort of lays there or
There's
propped
like
up.
prototype pictures of him where he had like a white tail that was posed in like a coil.
Right.
That would have been better.
Would have been so much
At least
better.
he could have
It was probably more expensive.
Probably.
Yes.
Or somebody just was like, that's it? He's just going to stand there? And then they're like, we should make it bendy. And then it just sucked. The execution.
The aspect of the movie of like new recruits was cool. I liked the introduction of
training.
new recruits and the training and stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know, I liked Duke and Falcons. You know, it's always funny with these toy lines where it's the passing off to the next
Yeah.
generation.
Well, they have to do that to keep more toys popping out.
Yeah, and to you know, that was 5 years after the line started. So there was a whole new group of 8-year-old kids that they wanted to introduce it
Right.
to. So did the movie fail and that's why somebody stopped the cartoon, or what was it?
So they put Transformers in the theater. There was a huge backlash.
We all know why.
And it
Yeah.
made less money than it was supposed to because of that. And then they said we're not. They just pulled the G.I. Joe and the My Little Pony movies just aren't going to theater.
And they turned the Joe one into a 5-part miniseries, just like the good miniseries.
Right.
All of the other miniseries are good, if you ask me.
Yeah.
You know, I love them all. Now, toy-wise, since we're talking about Cobra La,
La, la, la, la.
Nemesis Enforcer is a huge disappointment.
Yes.
What? I mean, the green blobby weird. That's
He
just
also came with
weird.
wings, which were super underwhelming too.
Yeah, the wings were real tiny.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what's great is they had another chance at it with 25th anniversary, and they did it better. The 25th anniversary Nemesis Immortal, they had to name him. I don't know why. I guess Enforcer is not a good.
Something got copyrighted or
Right.
something.
Or it's just a bad word.
Or it's a word that they don't.
Yeah.
They're not behind anymore. The wings are bigger. I never got the green things.
I don't know what that
Tendrils.
is.
They're tendrils.
It always kind of made me think of that little octopus thing that Pythona would throw at people.
A little bit.
But it's not that.
No. I wish they had made a Pythona. The club did.
Yes. I really think they should have made the 3-pack have Pythona, Globulus, and Nemesis Enforcer, and then put the guard out single-carded so you could have army build them if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
That
as a
would have
kid.
been good. Yeah.
They had planned to expand Cobra La into the next year, and then the 3-pack didn't sell well. The movie didn't get the reception they thought, and they just
The line still went
sub-team
strong,
away.
but
the toy line kept going, but that subline died.
gone.
Yep.
Gone.
Just
That was
forget
it.
about it.
That was it.
Yep.
They never did a vehicle. They never did another mention, honestly.
I mean, look at that guy. I don't blame them. He's just ridiculous.
That's Burgess Meredith.
Burgess
He trained
Meredith.
Rocky.
I was gonna say I was trying to remember who the famous person was from that movie.
Rock.
It was Burgess Meredith.
It was Don Johnson,
Don
baby.
Johnson was Falcon.
okay.
This is
Don
87.
Johnson. Well, we've got Don Johnson, Burgess Meredith in this one.
Yeah.
Sergeant Slaughter.
In the Transformers movie,
Sarge. Transformers is chock full.
had
Chock
Leonard
full of
Nimoy,
fans.
Robert Stack, Leonard Nimoy.
Weird Al.
No.
No.
It's got a Weird Al song.
Weird Al
but not
song.
Weird Al.
Okay, yeah.
Eric Idle.
That's what I was thinking
Right.
of.
Yeah.
The My Little Pony movie had Danny DeVito.
And Rio Perlman.
Well,
So then after that movie, Deke started. And that's where
Deke.
Headman came, right?
Yes,
See, I
Headman
didn't.
was in the
I was out of G.I. Joe by then.
Okay.
I never watched Deke.
Headman.
88 was my last year of ever buying a new G.I. Joe, but
Okay.
I think I put them away in 89.
Yeah.
14 years old, Metallica tape, guitar.
Ready to go.
I never saw more than an episode or two of Deke based on whatever network it was on. So I grew up in the sticks. We had the antenna on the roof, and you could turn the little dial on a little box on the end table, and the antenna would turn. You could try and pick up other channels. Whatever channel Deke was on, it was not on the same channel the Sunbow series was on. It was broadcast somewhere differently. So I only ever saw it occasionally.
It probably wasn't as in
houses.
heavy a syndication either.
I guess, yeah. So I would see it occasionally at other people's houses. And Deke was okay and went downhill as it went. Like it
The
started
ones
out
I've seen-
okay and got worse.
The ones I've seen, either accidentally
yeah.
or because like somebody shared something
Yeah.
about it, and I was like, oh, let me check it out. If we thought Sunbow was childish, the Dekes
Yes.
I've seen are
It got
they play a football game against each other.
right.
Like it's Joe versus Cobra football.
There's an episode called Kindergarten Commandos where it's kindergarten cop but a GI Joe, and the kids beat up the bats. It's
All right.
ridiculous.
Oh man, I love bats too. I actually love when bats were introduced in the Sunbow cartoon.
Yeah.
because they were first of all, it's an enemy that Joe can kill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? They were blowing them away.
Is that
There were
why they were
thousands of them.
introduced? So they
Yeah,
could actually
probably.
be destroyed.
And plus, it was a huge army builder.
Yeah.
I remember in one of the episodes, it was like the episode where Cobra had a fundraiser.
Oh,
Cobrathon.
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 We
Yeah.
almost put that one on our list, but it's actually a good scheme.
Yeah.
It worked.
It's the one with the
They got $5 billion.
a virus. No, they're talking about computer viruses in 1985.
It was very
Right?
They were going to use a computer virus to like destroy worldwide Interpol.
I'm like,
It's
that's
actually-
great.
that's a great
That's another
scheme.
thing. I probably never heard the word computer virus before that. That's
I think
85.
I
about
think
computer
that's
virus.
where I heard the word Interpol for the first time.
There's a great scene with a bat in that, though.
Okay.
Where they throw a grenade and it blows the bat backwards into a wall, but he doesn't die, but he stumbles, and that gives them the chance to shoot him in the computer thing, which I don't know why Cobra made the clear computer.
Yeah.
So they could shoot it.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I remember in a scene where Sergeant Slaughter's just like fighting hundreds of bats. I love that.
He's just punching them and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a little stick.
Yeah.
God.
little baton.
Cobrathon, we were going to talk about it, but it's actually a great scheme.
Yeah.
And it would have worked if not for those meddling Joes. Like,
So we're talking about, I guess we got into figures now.
yeah,
Weird figures.
Why is Destro up here with like weird, wacky, and bad figures? What's his deal?
You guys both want to know that, right? You both want to know why.
Why
I
do you
wanna
like
know-
Destro?
I love Destro.
I
Okay.
love Destro.
In '83, I got Destro brand new. I love Destro.
Why is he here?
And I was watching the cartoon, and his has a metal. This toy was awesome. Metal mask. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's a bad guy in a metal mask. That's really cool.
I know where you're going with
I'm watching the
this.
cartoon, and the lips are moving, and I'm like, what the? This is before T2. Made of liquid metal. You know what I mean? 'Cause he's not a T1000, and it took me right out. I'm just like, that's no.
Now
What's
that you
happening
say
with his
that,
mouth?
It makes no sense.
Is it not a metal mask? Me and my friends would have arguments when we're playing with them.
And it's so interesting too because they would have saved so much on production not animating the mouth move.
It would have looked scarier and cooler.
Yeah.
I love Destro in the cartoon too.
Do you think that they thought the kids wouldn't understand who was talking then? That
Yeah.
there's just a
Yes.
voice?
Yep.
Because Cobra Commander already can't talk.
Yeah, why do that with
And there's
both
too
of
many
them?
scenes with people
How
talking
great
to
did
each
that
other.
make Cobra Commander though?
Yeah.
That you never, and Destro, you never see his face either. It's a great bad guy trope, and also Snake Eyes. It's a cool
Yeah.
good guy trope
Yeah.
too. So I don't know
Probably
why. I mean, you
would've
never see
been-
Snake Eyes. Well, Snake Eyes doesn't talk at all.
It probably would have been too confusing to have because they're talking to each other so
There's
much.
a lot of scenes of them together.
I love the Man in the Iron Mask vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I love his look, the black leather. He's a bad mofo.
Yeah, it's a good look.
But boy,
It's definitely an interesting idea of like we got to put vac metal in this line. Let's vac metal the guy's head.
yep.
You know, the next time they do it is Super Trooper and it's armor and it makes sense.
Or
Like, yeah,
Diaco, right?
Yeah.
Southern,
Oh, yeah.
South American.
right.
Yeah. Why were his mouth?
So I do love Destro the toy. The only reason I put that there is because the cartoon and
Made it weird.
and the comic
Yeah.
too. Because I think
Yeah.
He has facial expressions for sure in the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, in the
Wow.
Or,
comic.
I mean, the comic,
yeah.
yes.
So
wonder
it
what
took
the
me.
deal is.
It takes away from the figure, if you ask me. I wish they had embraced because the figure doesn't look like it moves at all. It looks like a
No, it looks like a
fixed
hard
mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Destro's there.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'll allow it.
Awesome
yeah.
figure. Came with a case
Yeah.
that you could put his gun in.
I've thought of this before.
One of the best,
but
man.
you bringing it up again, it totally reminded me.
You know, 83, the line started doing things like Destro
Mm-hmm.
and other like weird kind of villains that aren't military villains, which is fine. You have to. What are they going to do? Like put Afghanistan or Russians?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the time, it was the Russians who we were up
Yeah.
against.
Always.
So they have to make fantastical figures, and he is awesomely fantastical. then you get to Dr. Mindbender a little bit after that. And I'm like, man, why is he like not wearing a shirt? What kind of doctor is this guy? Which it plays into the craziness of Cobra. I love his cape.
His cape
The
is
cape is
fantastic.
very cool.
Yeah, with the Cobra symbol.
I want a cape like that, like now. It's great.
But,
as long as his pants are colored in, he looks fine.
it was hard for me to play with him on the battlefield. Shirtless, jacked.
He's one of those you leave him in the base kind of guys.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like.
or he's like up in a tank, like commanding.
They're the only two early figures. Now, when I say early, I mean pre-90s. That I'm like, they're the only two. And Destro's only like that because of the media that surrounds him.
Oh, because the toy itself by
No, we're
himself
only
is
talking about Cobras.
fine.
There are Joes that...
There are weird Joes too.
Yeah, but we're only talking about Cobras.
So at some point, shortly after Mindbender, we also got into the animal-themed Cobras. And you have Crocmaster, who was really well executed.
I should have brought Raptor.
And you have Raptor, who was really poorly executed.
Dude, and Crystal Ball.
Crystal
Who's
Ball.
not an animal guy, but...
No. Well, he had the whole Stephen King aspect.
I like that they were running out of like military specialties. So, Crystal Ball has like a Rasputin
Yes.
thing going on, which I
Hypnotism.
dig.
Yeah.
I think like even World War II, like the bad guys, Nazis had like some occult thing. So I dig Crystal Ball for that aspect of it. I can appreciate where that came from. Raptor,
He's a little
you
off.
got me on Raptor, man.
So I have to...
I forgot to bring Raptor.
Yeah.
I
okay.
kind of have to confess a little bit here on a purchase as a kid. So I am a sucker for characters with pets.
Okay.
Like that is the coolest thing
yeah,
to me. as a
Spearhead
kid.
Max with his orange bobcat.
So I was in the store one time with my mom. I was allowed to pick out a Joe for whatever reason. It might have been the end of the school year or something. For whatever reason, I get to pick a Joe. And my cousin is with me. My cousin played G.I. Joe with me a lot. He's a little bit older than me. And I am debating between version 2 Roadblock and Raptor.
There's no debate.
I picked Raptor because my spirit's bird had the feet broke off. And Raptor's
we were just
bird
talking
is
about-
close
Yeah.
enough to be Freedom.
Yeah, I think in another episode we mentioned Polly's feet
bird
breaking. Like those
feet.
birds' feet break.
They're very
Purple
brittle.
Pie Man's
Yeah.
bird.
So I grabbed Raptor because I wanted to be able to use his bird with Spirit, who I love.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And did you already have a roadblock?
I did not have a Roadblock.
Oh,
And my
so
cousin-
one of the reasons I might not have got V2 Roadblock is because I had V1.
If you had V1,
Yeah.
and I
then-
prefer
yeah.
the V1 look where it's a little more military, darker.
Yeah.
And my cousin just kept going, but look at how big his gun is. Look at how big
gun's
his
awesome.
gun is. Yeah, I know. And it was just so fun. I was like, but I really think this, and I probably regretted it almost as soon as like
Yeah.
I had him out of the package. But
I don't remember. I listen. I had them all basically up until like '88. I don't remember choosing Raptor, but I
Okay.
might have got him on a Christmas.
and there's a lot of times where you don't pick the guys you have.
Yeah.
But that was a specific memory of like these were the only. I think they were the only two in the store I didn't own already.
Wow.
Maybe selection was already low, but it was like, which one do I get? And I picked Raptor.
That really saddens Roadblock. Just so you
It
know.
does.
Yeah, right. That's it, man. If we could find a sad Roadblock face,
Wah, wah, wah.
And what's the deal with the costume? It makes like okay, so he trains birds. He's a falconer. Why
I
does
think
he dress
watched
like the bird?
Buck Rogers one too many times. or
Because it's
something.
cool.
Is it?
though?
Is it?
Because he thinks it's cool.
Does
He
it
actually
work
has a-
like a glider?
Me, I think so. I don't know about the headpiece.
Well, yeah.
But his wings work like a glider. But maybe it's so the birds trust him more. Does it mention on his file card? We should have probably read his file card.
He's an accountant. He's Cobra's accountant. Really? That's like that's his other
All
military
right,
specialty.
I'm googling
Raptor's Cobra
Raptor's
Commander's
file card
accountant, and he's also a falconer.
on the side.
Yes. Now in the commercial, like the little animated segment, the 10 seconds of animation you get for the comic because they couldn't actually advertise the toys with the animation. There's like a whole team of these falcons that like pick a guy or raptors that pick a guy up.
Yep.
That's much more intimidating than him having one pet bird.
Well, they kept it cheap. We had to buy
Right.
17 Raptors to get enough Falcons.
you got to army build all the little birds, yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is his file card. Raptor was a yuppie tax consultant who took up falconry as a pastime and soon became obsessed with the avian blood sport. He discovered that by breeding bigger and stronger birds and equipping them with steel-tipped talons, they were capable of attacking much more profitable game. Caught poaching on a Cobra mink ranch by Destro, Raptor joined the ranks of the Cobra Legions and began working working
Cobra Mink Ranch.
That's one of their schemes.
on developing a bird of prey strong enough to attack a GI Joe. His quote mentions his suit. Raptor doesn't have any delusions about what he is, even if he dresses up in that bird suit of his and spends most of his time in a giant bird cage.
All right.
They're means to an end. It's the bottom line for Raptor is his non-taxable profit margin.
I like weaponizing birds of prey,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Him wearing the suit's just cuckoo bird.
The Mink Ranch is cool. I like that.
That's for the Baroness's personal mink
I was going to say,
collection.
is that Tomax and Zaymok giving the Baroness a minks?
Probably.
I like that.
I have no recollection of Headman. I know who he is now. Never watched any of the episodes. I know he's a drug dealer.
He's
I
the
know
Miami Vice guy, right?
I know he got, speaking of, he got
Yeah.
Falcon addicted to drugs,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's a deep.
Falcon's the one, like, wash
Boy,
up on the team
Jesus.
multiple times.
Totally.
What else has Falcon gotten into?
Well, he got court-martialed in the
Yeah,
movie.
he had to
Gotta go to
get
the
retrained
slaughterhouse.
by his
And he's Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
well, only in the movie.
But it's interesting, drugs, Miami Vice, Don
Sure.
Johnson, you know.
That whole drug elimination force thing had a lot of little Miami Vice type nods to it.
yeah, it would have to.
Yeah.
It would have to, based on, you know.
So I brought Headman because it's so pathetically stereotypical. I kind of like his outfit. He's got the Heisenberg hat on, right? A little Breaking
Yeah.
Bad. But then the mask. And it's just like kind of like Snidely Whiplash, like, I'm the evil drug dealer.
Yep.
It's,
Is that what is that kind of
where
hat?
a line that had been
Porcupine,
so
fedora?
creative,
Yeah.
which with how they came up, even a Falcon outfit is a little more creative
Oh, for sure.
than what they have him going.
How do you
on.
Yeah.
how do you make a drug dealer for kids? How do you communicate to a kid that the drug dealer is a bad guy? Because
Kevin?
drug dealers look like your neighbor.
Maybe
in
you
real
don't.
life.
Yeah.
It's just the guy next
Maybe
door.
you
Yeah.
don't.
Well, maybe you don't. But someone had made the decision. We're going to do this. We're going
Yeah.
to make a drug dealer toy for kids.
But I would have, even as a kid playing with GI Joes, I'd have bought that a drug dealer looked like Major Blood.
Yeah.
Oh, if it said it on the file card, I believed what it said.
Right.
I feel like
So they
Dr.
didn't need to
Mindbender.
go with like a Mindbender looks more like
Mindbender could have been a good drug dealer.
he looks like he looks like he reminds me of Scratch from Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the stripes.
Like just that generic, Scratch is great, but it's a very stereotypical outfit he's wearing, and that's
Yeah.
like a very stereotypical bad guy. Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we actually have an episode with a toy sculptor, the guy that sculpted Headman. Now, he didn't design the character.
Yeah.
Sure. But his job was to sculpt
But
it.
Yeah.
he sculpted it. So I have a cool interview with
I said
Paul
it looks
Sorton.
great.
Yeah.
So they should check that episode out because that
Yeah.
ties right into
Yeah.
this. I like the ponytail.
The
one of
ponytail
the
is
only
cool.
besides Spirit. There's not many ponytails.
No.
Well, you've got which one of the Zanzibar has the head? but
That's
it's actually hair.
Yeah, it's actual hair. You don't
Yeah.
get much of that at all.
No.
And
He's
then
only in there.
I just kind of scoured my figures because you were like, bring bad figures.
Yeah, okay.
And that Major Blood disgusts me.
What's so wrong about him?
Just the grenades all over.
Oh, the grenades all over the place.
The color
And
scheme's
then
kind of weird.
well, blue is Cobra.
Yeah, of course. The
And there's a
yellow,
Cobra
gray,
Commander with the
yellow.
blue and yellow, but like it's just so extra. I think that's probably like 91.
That's like the
92.
Sonic Fighter version, right?
Yeah. Yes. As they got further, they just went more extra and extra and extra.
Yeah.
I could have brought Joes that are just as bad, but you said
Yeah.
Cobras. The fact that he has grenades on his upper arms, on his chest, on his thighs.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, when you need a grenade, make sure you have one handy no matter where.
I guess. I mean, maybe if he's not
I'd
Major
be-
Blood and he's like grenady or like
If it was a grenader, that was his thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be afraid that I would get a grenade caught on something and it
Totally.
would pull out by accident.
one pin,
Right?
He's wiped out. I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
that's a
He's
little-
wiping out a whole platoon around him.
yeah,
Actually,
I'd be a little bit scared
and
personally.
it's just I think it maybe could have been done better. Even if they were going to put grenades all over him, it's
Give
just
him like a bandolier
It's
of them.
gaudy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
It's a gaudy
Like,
figure.
Monkey Wrench has a lot of grenades.
It's
but
awesome.
It's done well.
It's
Yeah.
it's on a bandolier.
Yeah.
It looks cool.
That would
It's
work.
not gaudy.
Right.
That's gaudy.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't dig that.
So some of the other ugly figures that I was thinking about, and I didn't bring figures with me, but we can insert pictures, whatever, tie directly into crazy Cobra schemes that came out after the cartoon. So if you ever talk to Kurt Bazigian and the other guys that ran the line, they were spending a ton of money for the cartoon show, and as the advertising budget got smaller, they really couldn't afford to keep doing the show. So for a period of time, there was no show. Then they went back to the Deke show. Then that ended, and they went back to, again, no show. So in those meantime, they tried to give you a story on the package.
Yeah.
You had things like Iron Grenadier versus Battle Force 2000. That was just sort of advertised in the box.
Yeah.
And so they started doing a lot of the sub-teams. And the
Huge.
sub-team had a little story.
Everything became teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they wanted a story with
Had
it.
a story
cool.
on the package.
Yep.
You had good guys and bad guys for those sub-teams.
Yeah.
So when you think about, like, the Mega Marines, which are some of the ugliest colored G.I. Joes, some great sculpts, but ugly color schemes.
Yeah, not the best.
The idea is, and they had live action commercials for this, Cobra has mutated these monstrous creatures to fight G.I. Joe or to take over the world, and the Joes have got to stop them.
And they had the goop gimmick.
They have the Play-Doh because Kenner was bought out.
Yeah, they had like the body armor that you
Yep.
could put the Play-Doh in.
And then
Bio armor.
Bio armor.
Couple good figures.
Couple good figures.
Terrible
Some
coloring.
good sculpts.
Yeah.
Some of them got repainted actually later. Like Mirage has been repainted a few times and looks much better.
Yeah.
Some of them never got repainted. But you have Cyber Viper, who is terrible looking. He has like red pants and neon green and yellow, like almost like Giger alien stuff on his face. He is bizarre. And then you had the Mega Viper, who
He doesn't look like anything from the G.I. Joe line.
just so bizarre.
Yeah, it looks like from Kenner Aliens.
And
or
they came with
something.
Play-Doh that you could make like an outer exoskeleton.
Well,
It was like armor for the Joes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
the bad guys had like it was Play-Doh, but
throw
you,
it.
yeah,
The
you
one
could just
bad
do
guy-
it
stuff
like
with it.
you stick it in like a mold and it goes
Yep.
around them.
Yeah, but not the bad
Yeah.
guys. There was no mold with the bad guys.
No, just the-
Joes had an armor mold
Yeah.
that you can mold
Yeah.
around them, which is why sometimes you buy those figures loose and they're like
They're very
goopy
caked and gross.
Stuff gunked in all
And it was
the-
Play-Doh, not like a slime. It was like a Play-Doh.
It was
you
Play-Doh.
could form
Yeah,
it.
Hasbro had bought out. Was it Kenner that made Play-Doh? Whoever made Play-Doh.
Wow, yeah.
Or Tonka, whoever it was.
Yeah.
Whoever owned Play-Doh. Hasbro had bought it out, and they were like trying to figure out ways of using these properties they had
Yeah.
bought. So they.
Cool.
just a gimmick.
Yeah.
Trying a gimmick, you know.
Anything
Other
to
than-
sell a toy.
Well, it was another one of like Kurt Bazigian's theories is that the kid you have to have an answer to what else does it do, like.
See, I never needed that answer.
But that was a thing he got from his kids. Apparently, like he got his kids some like Matchbox cars, and the kids like rolling. He goes, "What else does it do?" And then Kurt was like, "Well, we got to put spring-loaded missiles. That was when the gimmicks got born.
Well, you
A
know,
conversation with
maybe his kids were a little because they were kids of a
toy person?
A toy person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Were a little spoiled's not the word, but a little like
Overexposed to the
yes,
concept. Yeah,
perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
overexposed. So, and they were probably because their dad did what they did. They were probably a little more like thought. They put
Thoughtful.
more
Yeah.
thought into
Right.
just playing.
because they probably got asked a lot of questions about what do you think
Yes.
of
They
this?
were the test
Yeah.
models,
Yeah.
you know, those kids. Whereas us regular kids whose dads didn't run a multi-million-dollar toy line,
Right.
were just like very happy with the toys we got and didn't have to ask what else it did because
I just pretend it did other things.
that's all I
Yeah.
needed to do.
Yeah.
Those figures, you know what they do? They are little men and they
climb
shoot
trees, they
and
drive
fight and
vehicles,
have karate
they-
fights.
Yeah.
yeah.
They look weird. They have snake tails that don't do anything.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it could have been better.
Since we were on Mega Marines, let's jump over to New to the Collection because Mega Marines ties so
Oh.
nicely with
It
what
does.
you brought.
What a nice
Yeah.
What a segue.
what a nice segue.
Yeah, what do you got over there,
So
Justin?
you know, Penelope, that a lot of GI Joe figures from the Hour line were inspired by like pop culture. We've talked about
Many
the
times.
Dreadnoughts with Mad Max.
Yeah.
There's Predator was supposed to
Darklon
be
took-
Darklon,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So the Mega Marines were inspired by aliens.
Yep.
Right. They're kind of look like the Space Marines
Yeah.
in Alien, the Colonial.
The Colonial,
Marines.
yeah. Colonial
Now, when I
Marines,
saw
yeah.
Aliens was like '86, I think.
Yeah.
GI Joe's my life.
Yeah.
I see Aliens, and I'm like, oh my god, please make GI Joe style toys for these.
Yeah.
They never did.
Nope.
Not then. Not until the
Yeah.
'90s, and when they were going to do an Aliens cartoon.
And they weren't really
Kenner.
G.I. Joe style.
No.
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 They were inferior. The human
Yeah.
toys from that line are inferior to G.I. Joe.
Yes.
They're
So
very
it was
Jurassic Park-y.
it was a something that a young Justin wanted that never came to fruition. And then flash forward 30 years, and Hiya Toys, who has the Aliens,
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing all kinds of great 1/18 scale, which is my scale because it's G.I. Joe is 1/18 scale, 4-inch.
Yeah.
They finally made a G.I. Joe scale Colonial Marines APC. And as soon as I saw it, I had to pre-order it.
Yeah.
And we finally got it in, and it's... The top comes off. We do a whole review. We just did an unboxing review over on our channel.
Okay.
So if you want to go watch it, it's called From Retro to Right Now.
Yeah,
right?
it's the Burning
in one of our
APC,
playlists,
yeah.
Burning APC. You can see it on the thing. So we open it and tear it down. I'd give my whole opinion on it, but it's something I've been waiting for forever, and I was so happy to open it.
The Mega Marines, the one vehicle from that line is the Monster Blaster APC.
So I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, it's a greenish,
Right.
long rectangular
So
vehicle.
I always knew the Rhino was very based on this.
Yes.
But that's later.
It's later. But there was also a thing called the Monster Blaster APC. It had a long cannon down the center that was spring-loaded, and it had lots of little compartments on the side where you could put the guys in it. It doesn't look 100% like that.
Sure, but it's
it is
inspired by.
definitely
Yeah.
inspired by that.
Wow. That's very cool.
Gung-Ho from Mega Marines and that Monster Blaster APC, it definitely have some direct inspiration.
I don't know who is. I don't know if Ron was still designing at this point or whoever.
I don't know if he was back on, because he actually had left to do the Hasbro Wrestlers for a long time.
the WWF.
They moved him off of G.I. Joe. I'm not sure when I'm not sure exactly where those, the lines are.
Yeah.
For when he was in and out.
I just love that whoever was, and I guess it's a toy maker thing.
Yeah.
They're inspired by the things they like or pop culture.
Yeah.
So
things
when
that
a
are
cool
popular.
movie comes out and they're like, kids would love this.
Yeah.
And so they kind of have an inspired toy by it. I love that.
The first time they touched on it was Battle Force 2000. Dodger's helmet is very Colonial Marine inspired.
Totally. Yep.
And even as a kid, I saw Aliens much later than when it was released.
Man, I saw it in the theater.
But as soon as I saw it, all I could think of was Repeater's
Totally.
Steadicam gun.
Totally based on that. It has to be.
It has to be.
Right? What other... Because the gun itself was based on the Steadicam camera.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody thought that was to do that with the gun until that movie, till
Right.
James Cameron came up with that. So it's not like whoever's designing Repeater, they were totally inspired by that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff that we don't even realize.
Oh,
You
so
know,
many
that
things.
some
Little
people borrow
inspirations
designer,
here and
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And things are inspired by things all the time.
All the time, yeah.
We just talked about G.I. Joe.
We did.
Yeah,
We finally had a
finally. How's it
Pegwarmers
feel?
episode where we focused on G.I. Joe.
It feels all right, but it like the discussion was such a specific, like, he gave me homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of, I was like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do Night Force. And he was like, well, I'm doing this G.I. Joe thing. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right.
We'll come
do
back.
Night Force.
We will hit specific segments of the G.I. Joe line
Yeah.
again.
I see a lot of G.I. Joe in our future.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
So,
I like this thing. It's
thanks
fun.
for joining me for this Cobra Convergence episode.
Oh,
was
it was a
fun,
pleasure.
yeah.
I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to watch the other.
Yeah,
aspects of
the
it's
other
very
stuff.
cool. There's lots of different people that'll do it, and it'll be interesting to see whether we touch on any of the things other people touch on.
Very cool.
When you have that theme, sometimes people take it in a very unusual direction, and there's no overlap. And other times you see people like, "Yep, we're all on the same wavelength on that one." you
Yeah,
know?
I wonder how many of the same episodes are going to be.
Oh, there's so many weird schemes.
There's so many weird schemes, and everyone has their own opinion of what's like an ugly figure and things
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
so,
that's all
you know.
relative.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
We are waiting for the Dark Souls of fighting games. Let us have it. We're ready.
Soul Edge has nothing on a lightsaber. Like, I'm sorry.
James Earl Jones comes back.
No!
Oh no! Oh!
I don't think kids trade games anymore. I need that sense of accomplishment, and it wasn't there. And I think that was a major flaw.
The way they engineer these is just phenomenal.
As much as you're into like the comics, I was very into the toys, so I was on like the message board all the time.